The first robbery occurred around 12:40 at the National Australia Bank in Hunter Street, which was also robbed last month. A woman described as being 162 centimetres in height and of skinny build demanded money from the teller after producing a handgun. She then fled and a short time later, around 1:30, a woman fitting the same description walked into the Greater Newcastle Permanent Building Society at Charlestown Shopping Square. Carrying a large dark leather bag, she produced a firearm and then demanded money. She then escaped through a crowd of busy lunchtime shoppers who were unaware of the hold-up. It's believed that the takings was only a moderate amount and police are still continuing their investigations. Armed robberies are becoming common in the Newcastle district. Last night at Foster, a takeaway cafe was robbed. Coupled with today's armed hold-ups, that brings the total for the Newcastle district for this year at 17. A case of crime which Detective Sergeant Murray says is on the increase.
I'm not aware of the actual statistics, whether on the increase or not, but they do over the last years, or the last few years, appear to have been on the increase, yes.
Detective Sergeant Murray says that police are concerned for the safety of employees in the event of armed robberies. But is it just a case of banks and building societies becoming easy prey?
I wouldn't say they're easy prey, but they are institutions which carry money, and no doubt that's why they are a target of the criminal element.
Just how dangerous are armed hold-ups? Is there always that risk that the gun will go off?
Yes, there is, because no doubt the offenders have to be nervous to a degree, and with a loaded firearm they can be extremely dangerous.
Carrington Slipways is already building 2 prototypes of a new mine hunter for the Navy, with a further 4 due to be in the water by 1981. The DIB review cites additional mine hunters as well as the construction of 8 light patrol frigates as an essential part of Australia's defence needs in the future. General Manager of Carrington Slipways, Don Laverick, says he's confident the extra work, including the frigate hulls, will go to the Slipways. And he says he's hopeful export markets for both vessels can be opened up with countries with similar defence needs to our own.
We have written to the Minister for Defence to ask for an appointment to discuss how this could be progressed to much quicker than would normally happen through the Defence Department. We believe it's very important, as with these mine hunters, that we have these ships designed and built in Australia.
And of course an avenue for an export market as well. Are you looking at that?
That's very important. We have a lot of interest in these mine hunters. We believe that we'll sell 6 of them within a very short time of the first one being trialled.
Meantime, the second of the new Stockton ferries, the Hunter, will be launched here tonight at the Carrington Slipways. The Hunter will join her sister ship, the Shortland, on the Newcastle to Stockton run.
Here's the second one, mate.
The 3-day Kotara Prestige Triples is the major triples tournament for Newcastle. This year, 24 teams were invited to play, with teams from Hong Kong, Victoria, the ACT and Sydney joining a large contingent of locals. Going into the final round this afternoon, 2 teams were undefeated with 5 wins. The tournament's youngest team, locals Mick Beasley, Neville Robards and Neville Hards, were the leaders with 5 wins and a good margin. But the Sterling Victoria team of Jim Yates, Duncan Taylor and Keith Waddingham was not far behind, also with 5 wins. Late this afternoon, however, the Victorians went down in an upset in their final game and left the young locals with a clear run to the winner's cheque of $1,500. Meantime, at the Waratah Club this afternoon, their number 1 pennants team was preparing to defend the state title they won last year. It's the first time the number 1 pennants round robin has been held outside Sydney. The 16-man Waratah team features 5 state players: Charlie Frost, Barry Salter, John McCormack, Kevin Franklin and Les Meredith, and 1 player, Noel Lambert, who has won 10 number 1 pennants and 3 state pennants. 16 teams from all over the state will be coming here for the round robin, from as far away as Moree, Leeton and Nowra. The pennants will be held at the Belmont Macquarie Club over the weekend and conclude with the finals on Monday afternoon at Charlestown.
Annual three-day speedboat spectacular is on again at the Royal Motor Yacht Club at Toronto, with boats some of the best in the state to race for the money on offer. A number of championships will be raced, including the Kenny Waggett and Alan Hatherall Memorial events and the Northern District Unlimited Inboard Titan. To a little quieter sport, and our Newcastle representative table tennis teams are off to Wollongong this weekend for the country championships. Canberra has dominated this competition for the last 4 years. There are of course the teams that beat Gary Harwell, Shane Racine, Lionel Hurst and Robert Harwell are the Division 1 players. The EDSAC Stadium at the entrance is the venue for the country volleyball titles, with the Lake Macquarie men's and ladies the defending champions. 10 men's and 9 ladies teams will play over the 3 days, with the winners claiming a place in the Nationals later in the year. The Lake Macquarie ladies are the national title holders. The 10-pin bowling state titles continue with the Mayfield Bowl. The title goes to the player with the best pinfall in each division. Locals are doing well so far, with the titles to finalise next weekend. Newcastle was the venue for the inaugural titles in 1964.
As the International Symposium winds up, work continues on land development at the Shortland Centre. Major announcements over the weekend will ensure the continuation of the centre in Newcastle. The federal government's $167,000 grant to develop a tourist canoe trail, combined with the Department of Natural Resources' gift of 28 hectares of wetlands, was a major boost to the centre. The formation of a state task force will allow for the preservation and enhancement of all wetland systems in New South Wales. The 4-day symposium has been nothing short of an international success. The centre at Shortland will now be regarded as a leading authority on wetlands, and according to Acting Director Brian Gilligan, it's going to be the beginning of bigger and better things.
I think we are on the threshold of putting Newcastle at the forefront of wetlands research and wetlands education and passive recreation, and I think people are looking to us. They're going to be very much monitoring what happens here at the Shortland Wetlands Centre and in the Hunter region over the next few years, and I think as we monitor what we do, I think we're going to be seen as a case study for other places and other people.
Brian Gilligan says the success of the centre is because of unfailing community support. It's a scheme which will create an environmental magnet for tourists.
From our point of view, the tourism thing is a combined effort, I guess. The major role of it is a somewhat callous exercise in bringing people who might not otherwise be as closely associated with wetlands into contact with our education programs, and it also will be an opportunity to generate some funding for our education and our research work, but also I think it'll be an opportunity for people to come and enjoy wetlands, and passive recreation in wetlands is one of the things that we're trying to open people's eyes to.
Region has the highest incidence of kidney disease in Australia. In an effort to reduce this statistic, local health workers have devoted this week to teaching the public how they can detect the early signs of kidney problems. At Garden City, shoppers are invited to drop by the Kidney Week display and have a simple blood pressure and urine test. These are the early indicators of kidney disease. According to the Director of the Renal Service at the Royal Newcastle Hospital, Dr. Ranjit Nanra, most people don't find out of kidney disease until it's too late.
By the time a patient gets any symptoms, they often have severe kidney disease and kidney failure. Now, the point of this exercise is to detect kidney disease early, which may be silent.
Sister Sandra Morgan, who is administrating the display, said that the early detection kidney tests being carried out are a quick and painless procedure and those who return a positive result will be referred to their doctor for further testing. The Kidney Week display will continue until Saturday morning.
Dr. Parnass does not fit the usual image of a stirrer, a radical or a peacenik. He is in fact a world-renowned computer software engineering scholar. As he told students and staff at Newcastle University today, he began his campaign against Star Wars after he'd been asked to make it work. Star Wars, which the Pentagon calls the Strategic Defense Initiative, aims to protect the United States from incoming Soviet nuclear missiles by a combination of satellite tracking and computer-controlled laser guns. On a Pentagon salary of $1,000 a day, the doctor set to work and after only 3 weeks concluded that the concept cannot be realised.
I decided that the project was fraudulent, that people were being asked to make a system that would make nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete, that would end the fear of nuclear weapons. And in my opinion, most of them realize that they can't do that, and they're only going to make the situation worse.
Well, if most of them realise that they can't do that, then why are they continuing to work on the SDI?
There are a lot of different reasons. Every individual has his own reasons, but many of them have told me that they know they can't do it, but they think the money will be good for their field or their company or themselves.
Dr. Parnass says that we cannot build a computer sophisticated enough to do the job, and says that man must look for other ways to solve the arms race.
I think the reason that we haven't gotten anywhere for many, many years now is people keep trying to find security in technology. And I believe that technology is not going to bring us security. If we want to end the fear of war, it's not going to be through nuclear deterrence, it's not going to be through Star Wars, it's going to be through finding other mechanisms for conflict resolution.
Dr. Parnass will be speaking about Star Wars at the City Hall from 8 tonight.
The writer was speaking at a luncheon organised by the Friends of the University of Newcastle and the ABC. He will also deliver a lecture tonight at the university. Keneally, a versatile author and playwright and even actor, sees the artist's main duty as being to tell the truth. And this he sets out to do in his latest work, titled for now, The Great South Seas Circus.
Many of those first convicts, they were very young. Many of them had been sentenced before the age of 14. And a great number of them had been sentenced before they were 20. And they were youth from the slums of England and from the very disgruntled countryside. The way our countryside, our farming community is in crisis. Farming England was in crisis as well. And all the traditional jobs that people thought would exist forever were beginning to vanish the way they are now with computer technology and the microchip and all the rest of it. So that the youth that arrived here in the convict ships were very like the youth of today, who are suffering the same sort of disorientation, doubt, alienation, and too many of them, of course, turning to crime. And that's why we have epidemic crime. So in 200 years we've gone from epidemic crime in Georgian England to epidemic crime in Australia. Now, the Brits solved it by shipping their young crims all the way here into deep space to a penal space station way out there. But we can't do that. We've got to solve it here.
Thomas Keneally was invited to Newcastle by the university's history and English departments, the first in what is planned to be a series of lectures by well-known literary figures. The topic, history and fiction, the same thing, gave Mr. Keneally a chance to talk about one of his most recent novels, the best-selling Schindler's Ark, which won the Booker Prize. The story of a wealthy man living under Hitler who saves thousands of Jews from the gas chamber is a true one. Like any historian, Keneally had to carefully research the events. talking to dozens of survivors. He says that in such a case, writing a novel is governed by the same rules that apply to writing history.
If you are writing a novel that's very complicated, you have to have one event through which you feed all the other events, so you can go back in time and go forward in time from that event. But it's best to pick on one event, and then maybe if you write 1,000 words a day for 100 days, you'll have a book. But you'll be mad at the end of it.
The exhibition of 26 visual panels combined photographs, maps, drawings and documents to tell the lively history of railway development. The project was the idea of a railway worker from Sydney who, with the help of a graphic artist, the State Rail Authority and the Australia Council, made it a reality. The panels take you through the good times and bad, from the first openings 130 years ago, through 2 depressions, a general strike, 2 world wars and changing technology. It's not really an exhibition about trains so much as about people, and the men and women who made the railways what they are feature in every passing year. The exhibition is on show in the gallery until the 22nd of this month.
Think of croquet and quite possibly you think of old English tea parties with cucumber sandwiches and of course a little knock of this peaceful sport. It's been likened to snooker on grass, and in the East Maitland backyard of Cess Middleton, he and a small group of friends get together regularly for a spot of croquet on their homemade course. The course is a little rough with obstacles and an undulating surface, but the group of 5 doesn't mind. In one form or another, the group has been playing for 8 years, for nothing other than a bit of exercise and a social get-together. Cess Middleton was the founder of the group, and not surprisingly, he's very enthusiastic about his sport.
It is very complex because every stroke presents a different angle and a different approach. The approach, of course, is to get through the hoops. When you use your opponent's balls to acquire a position in front of the hoop so it can get through, or you knock them away so that they can't get through and get through yourself, so that it presents a different aspect every shot.
They were in the water, they were on the land. In fact, the reserves taking part in line haul were all over the area from Stockton to Maitland and Seaham. The operation is one of the reserve's regular training exercises, with this one involving the number 16 transport unit. With the movement of supplies and forces so important to the Army, it's also crucial that the people who will be moving them are well rehearsed. More than 65 people were involved, with the majority from Newcastle, backed up by others from Sydney. The reserves moved into base under Stockton Bridge last night, with line haul itself kicking off at first light this morning. The exercise mainly involved the shifting of supplies from a barge near the bridge to Stockton and through the surf to Horseshoe Beach. From there, the loads are taken by road to Seaham and Maitland before returning to base. Despite today's wet conditions and sizey surf, the operation went ahead without any major hitches. Line haul will wind up tomorrow. Last November's BHP Steel International Surfing Competition and NBN's coverage of it featured prominently in the awards, winning the Best Local Television Program and a special award from the Newcastle City Council. Both BHP and NBN committed themselves to repeat the event and the television coverage this year.
Tonight said they'll be sponsoring it. I'd like to announce right now that NBN will be there with 6 cameras. We'll be out there with...
Amongst the other major awards, Janelle Provost was named Best Television Journalist, Best Media Personality was 2HD's talkback man Warwick Teese, and the special award of the night went to recently retired sports commentator Rod Allen. Souths controlled the game from the outset, and Waratah-Mayfield seemed to only make Souths half on rare occasions. New boy Paul Waite, into the side to replace the unfit Steve Robinson, made it his field day, with 2 tries and 7 goals from 7 attempts, a personal total of 22 points. While experienced hooker Richard Jones must be relishing his return to Newcastle after years in the fast pace of Sydney and controlled the rucks at will. After a shaky start to the season, Souths are coming good when a couple of teams above them are showing just ordinary form.